Today we're continuing the Saying Something Nice series continuation now, and well, again, today, talking about the UK queens. As I've already mentioned in the previous video and the video after that, this was supposed to be one video on its own. However, I just had no time to do it. I have no time to do a full, half an hour long or even longer video for that, so I have to separate it in parts. And as I have already said, and as you can see from the title and the thumbnail, today we're going to be saying something nice about every queen that has competed on UK seasons of Drag Race, of RuPaul's Drag Race, of course. And I do hope you do say something nice about them too. Alright, now on to the UK seasons, starting with Drag Race UK Season 1, and with the first eliminated queen of that season, Gothy Kendoll. Is it bad that I do not remember anything that I would particularly say that I liked about her on the show? But that's kind of the case because she's the first eliminated and you're kind of not supposed to be impressed by her. But on her Instagram, if you go there, you will see some really nice looks, so yeah, there's that. Scaredy Kat. Scaredy Kat was my pick to win season 1 of Drag Race UK once the season started, and then she went home second. Oh my god. Well, no, okay, she was my pick to win. She was just my favorite in that season. I like her style. I also like that she was, I think, the first bisexual man on the show that also had a girlfriend, or was he I can't remember. I remember there was this whole talk about it, but either way, it's an interesting thing to show that on a show that's supposed to be all-inclusive and all of that, and also, again, all queer-inclusive, and we know about bi-erasure, and also erasure of people who don't want to, label themselves. I wonder what Scaredy Kat is up to now. I should look it up. Vinegar Strokes. I honestly love her energy and just her comedy on that show, and the fact that RuPaul told her that her drag was hodgepodge and that she just stood there and did not dropkick him at the spot. Good on you, Vinegar. Good, well done. She's a really funny person, and she's enjoyable to watch. Much like Something Wong. Something Wong is just really likable, and let me just say this, the look that she was eliminated in was not a bad look. I call bullshit still on her elimination. I think that she could have shown so much more. But again, Drag Race and their whole mistreatment of Southeast and East Asian queens is, But yeah, I like Something Wong. Also, come on. Pun name, it's really funny. Yeah. Krystal. This is one of the 17 Krystals that we've had on Drag Race for the past 10 years. Not 10 years, but 3 years, I like Krystal's rough around the edges aspect to her drag. And her runway when they did the whole Spice Girl thing. Well, no, it wasn't a Spice Girl thing. It was when Jerry Halliwell was the judge, when she did the whole metal thing and sparks flying and stuff. Guys, can you tell that English is not my first language? I found it to be really cool, and I want more of this on Drag Race. Blu Hydrangea, the dark horse of that competition, kind of surprised me, surprised I think everyone. I remember in the first episode watching it and not being able to differentiate between Divina De Campo, Blu Hydrangea, and Krystal, and then Blu Hydrangea ended up being just the funniest person on that season, the coolest person on that season even, and how can you not love somebody who rhymes home with home? I remember there was a story behind that she wanted to rhyme with something else, but can I tell you more about it? No. Also, again, we gotta give her props for being in the Frog Destroyers, the most legendary drag group of all time. Cheryl Hole, who holds the honor of being the worst competitor that reached top 4 in Drag Race. Listen, I like Cheryl. I think that there were a lot of times on that season when she was unfairly given a low placement, especially in the first episode. I don't get why she was low there. And again, pun name Cheryl Hole, liking girl groups, I like all of that. And here's a little piece of information that you guys might want to hear. So back in 2019, when that whole season was airing, I emailed Cheryl if she would like to do a video with me about just girl group stuff, talking about Spice Girls and Girls Aloud, Atomic Kitten and everything. And she just did not respond. And then a month later, she started a podcast talking about girl groups. And I was like, you know what, this seems fishy. Obviously, it's not the most original content idea, but I just found it funny. Still, I would love to do something like that with Cheryl. We'll see, we might, who knows. Baga Chipz. funny, marketable. She has a pretty palatable style of drag that's kind of more on the UK comedy queen side, which again for their market is probably more marketable than some of the other girls. Fun drag name. What is it with UK queens having really good drag names that are also puns again? Though if I hear much better ever again, I'm going to strangle somebody. Divina De Campo, robbed. Guys, I could have won. If she had won, it would have made sense. But like, come on, she's booked on like 75,000 shows that people there in the UK have. I don't think she's, feeling bad about losing. But Divina De Campo has this sort of like Katya energy to her that's kind of like, I don't want to say chaotic because that word has been kind of misinterpreted in many ways by the internet attention-seeking influencers, if you know, you know. But I mean it in the nicest way possible. Like, she's chaotic and fun. She's full of energy, and her singing, good God, like, wow. Like, honestly, give her a proper record deal and a proper album and everything. She should be heard by more people because she's just fantastic. Vivienne is the one that knew how to play Drag Race. She knew what worked for Ru. She knew what, well, she probably still knows what works for the general public, which is obviously why she impersonated Trump on Snatch Game, which was really funny, one of the best Snatch Game performances ever. She's a very deserving winner, don't get me wrong, but it was kind of obvious to win, so you couldn't really root for her. But then that's not really a bad thing. That's also something that I like about her. You can't necessarily relate to her fully unless you're just as talented as she is. It speaks volumes that you can say that about somebody where you're like, oh, I could like her more if she were less talented. You know what I mean? Okay, season 2. We're starting with Cherry Valentine. If I remember correctly, Cherry was, or still is possibly, a medical worker, and she, worked and helped people during the pandemic and all of that. We have to give her praise for that. And also, I don't know if this is just because of her promo pic or whatever, but the color red, it suits her. I mean, obviously with her name Cherry and Valentine, it makes sense that she would go well with red, but like, it's maybe even like good marketing on her behalf, that she's like, okay, my drag name is Cherry Valentine, I look good in red, so obviously I'm gonna go with red. Well done. Next is Asttina Mandella. Oh my god. Fucking gorgeous, fantastic body. She's a great reality TV personality that, sadly had a strong start and then very quickly fizzled out. But if there is ever like a UK All-Star season, I think that the production would be really dumb not to cast her on there. Next is Ginny Lemon. Now, obviously, I've already said, yellow, anything, well done, you're great. But I also like the fact that Ginny Lemon was like, hey, I'm not the type of a person that lip syncs. So what I'm gonna do is just walk out. Obviously, I'm not the biggest fan of somebody walking out and just giving up on an opportunity or just giving up in a competition in general. But like, if you know that something's not up your alley or just you're just going to do something and it's not going to work out properly, yeah, know yourself and know when to take yourself out of a situation or whatever. And we love to see that in a person, like knowing oneself that much. Veronica Green, just a heads up, I'll talk about her now and not for season 3. I think that Veronica has a lot of potential, and if she had more time to prepare for season 3, she would have done better, or at least the show would have been able to push her towards like a top 3 or whatever. But she's kind of like Jen in that sense that like she knows what she is good at, she knows what she wants to achieve, and she's gonna go towards that. But I think that there's more, and this might sound a little weird, but I think that there's more humanity to Veronica. Like, there's more relatability to her. We see her struggle, and her struggle isn't, I'm not the best, but her struggle is just like human related. She's like, you know what, I tried my best, but it didn't work out. And it sucks because that's how it is, but yeah, it's nice that we actually also got to see that aspect to Drag Race, or Drag Race queens in general, Drag Race contestants. Joe Black. I like that Joe knows what works for him and that he has a specific style and look of drag, obviously the whole Glenn Close thing, that he's just like, you know what, I'm not going to compromise this for the sake of a show that, could but also could not kind of catapult their career into something bigger. Because from what I've heard, Joe Black is kind of like really big there in the UK. She was able to do all of that without Drag Race, and that's quite admirable. Tia Kofi, okay, my favorite on that season. Hello. She, and I've talked about this when I did the whole ranking of the queens from that season. Tia Kofi reminded me of a professor that I had. Like, she's just so cool and like funny and relatable. And her confessional about her look, vintage? No. Staying on me? Barely so. I don't know the whole thing. I should learn it, honestly. It's probably one of the most iconic like bits of audio from Drag Race, at least when it comes to explaining runways, you know? She's just really funny, and what a great singer. Like, guys, if you have not heard her song Who Do You Think You Are, which is not sadly a cover of Spice Girls song Who Do You Think You Are, but it's a really great song, please go listen to it. Sister Sister, oh fuck. Is it bad that I have like no memory of her? Well, either of her or of Ellie Diamond. Is that bad? It probably is, so help me out. Say something nice about Sister Sister and Ellie Diamond, please, thank you. Okay, next, Ahura. Well, what can I say? Ahura gave me this sort of Adore Delano-esque vibe where it's like she's very likable, and it's obvious that kind of the younger audience will like her more than the, you know, let's say people of like that are like 20 plus or whatever. And Ahura had some of the best looks on that runway. I mean, not the best because Bimini was there, and like, how can you contest Bimini? Yeah, Ahura was very likable and again had very great looks. As I've said, Ellie Diamond, I remember nothing of her, so guys, help me out, please. Tayce. Okay, let's talk about great confessionals and giving great audio bits, and oh my god, Tayce is just so charismatic and so funny, and her not doing great in the competition doesn't really even matter to me. I'm just like, can I watch her? Like, yes, fine, whatever, keep her until the final episode just so that I can hear her and listen to her and see her on the runway. I mean, her lip sync when she was wearing that whole red thing and with the blood on her face. What was it? Was it To Memories? I think it was. I think that was Lip Sync to Memories. Just one of the greatest performances we've ever seen on Drag Race. And it goes to show you that you don't need stunts to be a great performer. And Tayce is just fantastic. Also, what a cool name. Tayce. Yeah. Bimini Bon Boulash. Where do I begin? Maybe one of my all-time favorites ever of Drag Race. Definitely like my second favorite of that season after Tia. Or maybe just like first with Tia, you know, who knows. I just love Bimini. Like, starting from their name, it's so fucking funny. And there's this sort of like a rhythm to it. You're like Bimini Bon Boulash. It's fun to say. And the fact that it's fun to say means that it sticks quickly in your head and you're like, oh, I know who this queen is. And she has such a specific identity to her. You know a Bimini look when you see it. You know what I mean? She's also like really funny. She had one of the funniest Snatch Game performances ever. And I would go as far as to say that her Katie Price on Snatch Game is my favorite Snatch Game of all time. It made me laugh that much. And also, I have to remind you all of that moment on the runway when RuPaul was like, oh, you remind me of an actress. And Bimini was like, Meryl Streep. yeah, I want to be friends with Bimini. She seems cool. I like her a lot. And the winner of the season, Lawrence Chaney. Just, how are you so funny? How are you so quick and witty? And oh my god. I don't know if it would be nice to say that she has a funny accent, because that's a little, you know, iffy to say. But the way she speaks is just so animated and funny. I think that even without Drag Race, she would have made a career for herself on UK TV. And, you know, even if she, like, started doing, like, YouTube or whatever, she would have been able to gain a substantial amount of following, again, because she's just so charismatic and funny. Alright, season 3, starting with Anubis. So for a younger queen, it's nice to see that Anubis has a very specific style and a way that she presents herself, which you may not expect from somebody so young. But Anubis' style of drag, I really enjoy and I'm drawn to, because it's, I don't want to say like, oh my god, it's so quirky and different, but it's interesting to the point where you're like, I know that you're not being different just for the sake of being different, you're being different because you like that stuff. And there are a fair amount of queens on Drag Race that have this style that you could kind of put into that sort of a category, and it's interesting that I like all of them mostly, so it's no surprise that I liked Anubis. Although if I see that fucking bucket hat, I'm going to burn it. Elektra Fence is probably one of the most energetic performers that Drag Race has ever seen. I think in her energy, she could probably like match Alyssa Edwards. And also I really like her freckles. Yeah. Victoria Scone. Or is it Scone? I will never know. Either way, the name works. It's a fun name. Talk about a queen that knows what works for and on Drag Race, and talk about a queen that's probably going to win a season that she's going to be on after this one. Is it season 4? Is it like some random all-star season? We don't know. I don't know. But I liked Victoria. She's, again, very approachable, very likable, very funny. She's also a great TV personality. And, you know, like, yeah, she has a pretty understandable, let's call it that, style of drag where, like, you don't have to be like, oh, what the fuck is this reference now? Like, what are you trying to do? You're like, okay, I see what you're doing, and it's nice, it's polished, it's great. Next up is Charity Kase. Okay, I have to be careful with praising Charity because for some reason people just dislike her a lot. Maybe it's the whole thing of like, oh, people like Charity, so I'm going to be, you know, cool and edgy and whatnot, and dislike her. I don't know what all of that is about. Yeah, I like Charity's style. Like, her drag made me excited about, you know, watching Drag Race again. I mean, there is always at least one queen on a season, though now that I say that, I can't remember the last time there was a queen on regular Drag Race that made me excited about drag. But Charity really was that person for me this season, and she's very eloquent. The way that she talked about having, you know, AIDS was really necessary, and it wasn't like trying to make it tragic, nor was it kind of, I don't want to say like glorifying the situation, but you know what I mean. Like, she didn't try to make it sound like, oh, I have this and that makes me cool and different, which can sometimes be done with, you know, situations like this, which is, let's not even talk about how weird that is. But yeah, all props to Charity. Her style is amazing. I cannot wait to see what else she can show us. Choriza May, legend. You know, when we start talking about Drag Race España, you'll hear me just praise everybody on there because I'm just like, wow, their drag is really cool. And Choriza's drag style I really like because amongst all of the queens on that season, you could really pinpoint her and be like, oh, so she's not exactly like UK based. Like, there are some more, I mean, international, you know, still it's Europe, but still that's international. It's a different culture, obviously. It's going to look different, and it's still going to look good because it really is good. I'm glad that Choriza didn't really go for the stereotypical Hispanic queen on a Drag Race season stereotype that some queens can fall into and some queens can be like pushed towards. So yeah, again, I'm glad that she didn't go that route, but she still was able to show us a personality that's, again, likable, fun, a great reality personality, or a great personality for a reality TV show. And come on, Choriza May, like, name a better drag name. Like, well done. And we also have to talk about River Medway. Now, I could go the, like, let's say, let me try to be funny route and praise her in my River impression, but I'm not gonna do that because this video is already too long and I should not make it any longer. But River on a Drag Race season that's not judged by RuPaul, or just in a Drag Race season where RuPaul just allows people to present their cultures that are not like made to be more tolerable by the US culture or the US population or whatever, she would thrive on there. Now, I know some people are going to try to twist this and be like, oh, so you don't think that she should have been eliminated? Yeah, in that lip sync, she didn't do well, and her snatch game was bad, and her runway look was bad. But compare that to the rest of the season, and she kind of did not have a dud, like, anytime. In episode 1, she made a fucking meme of herself, and she had a look that was not either good or like something that the general public would probably know, and she was like, you know what, I'm going to make this the most memorable part of the episode. And what? And then every subsequent episode she would like go onto the runway and have really good looks. Her performance in the Girl Group Challenge was also really good. Her performance in the Commercial Challenge was pretty fine, all things considered, with maybe one of the greatest looks, runway looks obviously, on that season, and maybe my favorite promo look. Well, definitely my favorite of this season, but maybe one of my favorite all-time promo looks. Scarlett Harlett. Listen, I'm going to praise her emotional maturity because on that season, when all of the girls were trying to, you know, come for her and all of that, and just trying to tell her that she was shit, she was like, I'm not gonna sit here and like listen to you do that. I'm going to defend myself, and then if I get too emotional, I'm just going to take myself out of the situation because I know I'm not going to properly be able to talk to you. And that's smart, and that's great. And I hate that the show was trying to make that seem as like something, I don't know, just something that we shouldn't like and something that we should be like, oh my god, she's taking herself out of the situation, oh my god. Like, no, that's smart. Like, give yourself time to process things. That's necessary and that's good. And well done, Scarlett, for knowing that. Vanity Milan. Okay, first of all, one of the greatest performers Drag Race has ever seen, and that's a very big, compliment, given that she's on a UK season that doesn't really have many, like, great performers, like, all-around performers, meaning. And also, and this is, like, really subjective, but I think that she's one of the most beautiful queens that we've ever seen on the show, and she looks great in orange. She's really great to look at, and I would love to see her again, just on any possible Drag Race spin-off, All Stars or whatever. Kitty Scott-Claus. I have to praise and like a queen that's able to pull out 700,000 references in a matter of a minute and just, like, speak in those references. Like, that just shows you how much knowledge and how much, like, popular media culture she has consumed. Now, that can be a bad or a good thing, but I'm praising the sort of capacity for her to be able to do that. She's also really pretty, she's really funny, and again, fun drag name, Kitty Scott-Claus. Like, Kitty's got claws, like, but change your name to Cat Scott-Claus, because you really did well in this season. And I'm going to sound really redundant now, I want to see her on an all-star season, or just see her again. Vaday. Okay, trade of the season, let's mention that first of all, we all know that, thank you. But also, she's like, and I've talked about this many a time, she's like the Rosé, but if Rosé was a person. You know what I mean? Like, she's good at everything. Her style of drag is good and polished, and also something that many people can enjoy. Like, it's not something that you need to have a specific taste to enjoy her. She's for everybody, basically, which could be kind of her problem, that, she is for everybody and that she doesn't have, like, a specific niche that she does. But hey, to each their own. She's a really good singer, and I think that she's going to have a great career on UK television after this. And last but not least, the winner of this season, Krystal Versace. I'm so amazed at the level of expertise at some of the stuff that she does, that she has at such a young age. I mean, all of that does, come from a certain privilege of being able to do all of that, but we're not going to, like, shame her for it. Like, we're going to be like, yes, that's great that you have that. Now how do we get more people to, have that, like, in the future? How do we have more queer kids, be great and all? She's had some great looks on that season. I especially love her Baby Spice look, because that's Krystal, obviously. Like, it's a very Krystal does Baby Spice, but you can also tell that it's Baby Spice, like, if you know the reference. And just the photo shoots that she did for her looks throughout the season, while not being, like, the most elaborative ever, they were, like, really cool. And just following Krystal on Instagram is a gift in itself. And that's it. That's the video. Yet again, we have an outro. We did not have one for the first video because I randomly decided to divide the original video into parts. So it did not have an outro. The second one did, and this one has one too. Hope your week's been going well so far, and thank you for watching.